Welcome to an overview of the PAM UltraVit software. PAM UltraVit is a software program which is designed to record all income and expenditure operations on a vineyard and calculate gross margins on a block by block and variety by variety basis. Let's have a look at the program in a quick view today. First of all, we'll go into the configuration. The first thing in the configuration is the customizing of your PAM UltraVit program. This allows you to nominate what you call blocks and vineyards and so on, and allows you to turn on and off sections of the program which you're going to use and not use. This allows you to simplify the program initially, and then later on turn sections of the program on once you've got the basics under control. The other things that are done through the configuration section, of course, is setting up vineyards and blocks. So you can have multiple vineyards and the blocks underneath them. For each block you have the area of the block. You can have details of location numbers and values and the dates established, the rainfall station or weather station. Under the block layout you can record what variety and clone and what date it was established. Within that you can also nominate sections of each block and how many rows in each section and the number of vines in the first and last row. You can also go down and nominate exactly how many vine spaces are in any particular row if you've got irregular shaped blocks. This allows you to enter details down to a vine basis if you wish for piecework or whatever. You also have a notes box for each block, so you can just write any general notes in there, and you can also record GPS coordinates for the center of the block. This of course is not required if you have the mapping section of the program. Also under the configuration we can set up the varieties and rootstocks. So we have the variety list and the various clones for each variety and a rootstock list. This is just building up a pick list, so when you're entering the block details they will come up on a pick list. We have crop monitoring items, things like bud numbers and bunch weights, etc. These are locked into the program for yield estimating, but you can add any other item you wish to monitor on the vines over the period. We can have various harvest classes of grapes and base prices for each. We can have harvest monitoring items, so any tests that are done on the grapes at harvest delivery time, you can also record that. Pests and diseases. These are really just again a pick list of pests and diseases relating to grapes, so whenever you do any chemical application or pest and disease monitoring, there is a pick list of these that you can choose from. Growth stages, these can be set up in the program. Again, these are used when you do any chemical application or crop monitoring or pest and disease monitoring. It'll ask you what growth stage the plant was at the time of the record. And there's also a nutrient removed button here, which you can record the kilograms of each element that is removed from the soil per tonne of grapes harvested. This allows you to do a nutrient audit report at the end of the year saying that you applied X kilograms of nitrogen, for example, and in theory X kilograms have come out, so the net flow is a plus or a minus figure. We also have consumables. So this is where you record your pick lists of chemicals, fertilizers and sundry items. With all of the chemicals you can record the type of chemical it is, the cost and the active ingredients of each chemical and default application rates and withholding periods, etc. With the fertilizers, again you can build up your pick list of fertilizers, and you can record the analysis details of each type of fertilizer, so it knows how many units of each element are applied when you spread it or apply it. Sundry items are other things like valves or wire or posts or whatever that you may want to record as a cost against the block or vintage. All of the chemicals and fertilizer and sundry items can be inventoried as well, and it will keep track of stock on hand by location, by batch number. Irrigation water sources, valves can all be listed with their outputs by valve, or you can do your irrigation by emitter output. Soil, sap, leaf and nutrient lists set up. All we're doing here is setting up the soil test screen or leaf test screen with the items that are going to be recorded and what order they will appear on the screen. There's a master pick list, and you can add any item that you wish. Storage locations are really just where you're going to store your chemicals, or what winery you're going to deliver your grapes to, or whatever, and you have suppliers and manufacturers of consumables. This is used in the inventory section of the program, so when you purchase chemicals or fertilizer or sundry items, it'll ask you who supplied them, who manufactured them, any batch numbers or vendor declarations that are required for quality assurance. The produce acquirers list can be again a list of vineyards or whatever that buy the grapes. A weeds list is purely a list of weeds that appear in the vineyard, so when you do a chemical application you can nominate which weed you are spraying with each chemical. Pest growth stages list. If you want to, you can go down into the detail of recording the size of pests. This can be turned on and off in the overall configuration, but you can nominate whether you've got eggs or small or large size pests. Weather stations and rainfall stations. You can have any number of weather stations located on the vineyards, and you just nominate the type of weather station, how often it records the weather details, and that information can be imported. Machinery manual tasks and staff and contractors. This is just again building up the pick list for data entry of the types of operations that are carried out on the vineyard, whether you're using a spreader or a 4-ray sprayer or a tunnel sprayer or a tractor seeder or sprayer or whatever, and you can put in the costs on a per hectare, per hour, per applied unit, per harvested unit, or per vine. So you just nominate the costs of the operation. Manual tasks, again, things that are done generally by hand without involving machines, so you can put a cost on a per hectare, per hour basis or per vine basis for them as well. Staff and contractors, these are the people that are going to carry out the operations. They can be your own staff, or they can be lists of contractors or whatever. You can put in an hourly rate, or that can be left blank, so you can just record who did the job without affecting the costs or so on. You can also pull out reports of the program saying who did what, so you can get a list of jobs carried out by any particular person on the vineyard. The nozzles, you can also record the types of nozzles that you use on the various spray units and their output. So when you do a calibration of a boom spray or a spray unit, you can nominate the type of nozzles and the calibration for each nozzle. The email connection settings just allow you to email out of the program. Units of measures and package sizes, again, these are used in the inventory section of the program, so when you buy chemicals or whatever, you can nominate whether they're 20 litre drums or 200 litre drums and put a price per drum in so it works out the price per litre or kilogram or whatever. So that's a quick look through the configuration of the program. The data entry side of the program is sort of broken up into three areas. We have what we call a budget view screen, where you can put in the plans for the coming year of all operations on the vineyard, and then turn them into plans or into actuals as you go. The first two icons here show what we call a block diary view or a block vintage summary screen. The first one here, the block diary view, basically sorts everything into year, month, day order, just like a normal diary that you would handwrite in. If we click on any particular day, it will show all the operations that were carried out on all the blocks on that particular day. If you wanted to have a look at any of that information, you can simply double click on one of the entries on the right hand side and it will pull up the details of that record. In most cases you can edit these records at that time, or even copy them to another date if you need to. So it's quite simple to jump from year to year in these records. You can also filter these records too by clicking on the filter button up the top here. You can see all the types of operations. If I just wanted to have a look at chemical applications, I can turn everything off, tick chemical applications, go OK, and it will then just filter the days that we did chemical applications and only show the chemical application jobs. So it's quite easy to jump back to a particular type of operation. To turn everything else on, simply go back into the filter, turn everything on, OK, and we've got it all back again. The second icon here is what we call the block vintage summary screen. This shows the same information, but it is all sorted by vintage, vineyard and block. So everything that happens on one particular block is shown on the screen. And we can scroll through the vintages, etc. Down the bottom right hand corner we have the expenses for year to date and any income for year to date. Obviously this one hasn't been harvested yet, so there's our cost of production so far in the year. If I jump back to the previous year or two, we will have some income in there, and we actually lost money on this block for that year. You can jump to any particular block and it will bring up the summary details on the right. You can look at any entry again by double clicking on it and pulling up the information. There are some instant reports that you can pull up here, which is an annual block summary report which will summarise all this into a printed report. There are also some tools in here to allow you to copy jobs or change activity dates or whatever if they've been entered incorrectly. You can also have a quick look at the costs associated with the vintages. This of course is available on printed reports, but you can just quickly look at these on the screen. Now this is viewed by block, so you can click on any particular block and it'll give you the costs of chemicals and fertiliser and the overall situation. You can also add in overheads and so on in here and spread it across all blocks if you wish as well. You can also view this list by variety, so it's quite easy for you to compare the Merlot blocks or something like that. Now let's go into have a look at the budget entry screen. You can have any number of budgets you wish, and they can go for basically any length of time. So if you're doing development, it could be a 5-year project or it could be an annual summary. So if we here's an example of some budgeted items on our Merlot block. If I'll just put another entry in here, I'll add a fertiliser application for July July 2006. Hit the next button. I'll just choose my Merlot. So if I'm going to apply it to a particular block, I can just choose those. I can also use the mapping part of the program to choose blocks as well, and they will automatically appear on this list down here. If I just go back and I'll turn those extras off. If I wanted to do an application to all my Merlot blocks, for example, if I click on the word Merlot, it automatically selects all the Merlot blocks. We can also alter the area worked over here. If I hit the next button, actually before I go on, we have row details here, so if you only want to treat certain rows or do a job on certain rows, you can nominate that here as well. I'll just pick a fertilizer here, a bit of Hydromag. I'll put that on at 50 litres per hectare. I won't record any batch numbers at the moment because this is a budgeted operation. I can hit next, and then I can say how I'm going to put it on, and I'm going to put this on with a gator, and it's going to take me 5 hours, and we've got the costs associated with it. If I want to, I can also nominate who's going to do the job. Hit the finish button. I can then add another operation if I want to. So in July here now we have the Hydromag going out with the gator in July. You can pull up a report, several reports out of here. One that is quite handy is the consumables required for the current budget. This just gives you a list of all your consumable items that are required, the total units, and based on the current costs, what the price will be. When it comes time to do these jobs, you have a choice of converting them either into an actual or a plan. So let's just choose that fertilizer application, for example, and if I click on this convert button, I can turn it into a plan or into an actual. If I turn it into a plan, I can then alter the rates, add any other fertilizers or whatever to it. I can go next and change who's going to do the job or the machine that's used, hit the convert button, and it will tick it off as being actioned. Now I may just quickly add a chemical application here as well. Again, I'll do it in July. I won't worry about machine here, I'll just put the chemical application in. I'll do my Merlot blocks again, and I'm just going to pick Basta for an example. Now you can put it in units per 100 litres with a concentration factor, or units per hectare, or total units. I'll just put in 20 litres as a total, and it works it back at a rate per hectare or whatever. I'll just hit the finish button there and record that. I'll just convert that operation as well to a plan. Okay, now if I go back to my vintage summary screen and go to that A2 block for 2007 vintage, you can see we've got red items here which are the planned items, and we've got one black one here which is an actual. We can do worksheets that we can print out from here. So if I pick this chemical, for example, go to reports, I can produce a spray worksheet, and what this does is it gives you a sheet that you can hand to operators that gives them the details relating to the job. So it'll tell you what's going out, the date it was planned for, what blocks are going to get it. I could have done this over a number of blocks as well. What chemical goes in and the rate per tank. So you've got the rate per 100 litres or per hectare, but you've got the amount that goes into the tank as well, and the total amount required for the job. If you had calibrated the boom spray, you would also have the ground speed, tractor gear, engine revs and pressures to run at as well. And the operator can record the batch numbers and the weather details and then hand the sheet in for data entry. This can also be recorded on the Pocket PAM, which uses PDAs out in the field. Once the job is done, it's simply a case of, again, picking the job, hitting the convert button and filling in the weather details, etc., the growth stages. You can record batch numbers. I haven't got any of those on file, but we can just record it manually. If you're using the inventory system, a list of batch numbers will appear there, and I can say what shed it came out of and what quantity. You can mix batch numbers and get chemicals from various sheds as well. I'll hit the convert button, and that will turn the actual into a plan into an actual, sorry. So there it is, gone into a plan, into an actual, and now it's recorded down the bottom. So what I'm getting at there is there's usually a one entry of each record and then converting them to plans and actuals, so you're not double entering data through the system. Okay, the other icons across the top here, we have soil, water tests, nutrient tests, sap tests, petiole tests. Basically this brings up the screen where you can either do the manual data entry or we can import CSV files as well. But that basically, for each of the elements, records the result. You can have any number of test sites per day, per block as you like, and you can then graph those over time as well. The rainfall, weather and rainfall records, these can be imported from the weather station or entered manually, and you can have any number of years worth of records there, and produce graphs of various types from that data. This section here is the actual UltraVit part of the program, which is used for pest and disease modelling. It was developed in Australia by the CRCV and incorporated into the PAM program in February 2005. This is